Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Friday, the 25th of March, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, I'll tell you guys what, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. Uh, it's in the bond market. The bond market's starting to, it's starting to tear loose. There's starting to be a big problem there. And it's really, do you guys see what's going on in there today and how quick the bonds are imploding right now? And it could increase in speed. It's uh, it's something that's been in the works for a long time. This bond market is like on a 40-year. It's ever since the Paul Volcker era till now. It's been on a massive bull run, and all things like that. And you can't have something that goes on forever like that. It just doesn't work. Anyway, let's get in there. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. Uh, Von Greyers, all hell will break loose for humanity. Now, he's talking about the core element of why I started my channel. I'll tell you guys what. Back when I first started my channel, I knew the economic turmoil was coming in the future. And at the time I started my channel, there was no economic turmoil. If our whole economy looked like it did back when I started this channel, there'd be nothing to talk about here. But now you can really start to see. He says here, all hell will break loose, and it's starting to break loose. And you can see the economic turmoil, and the reason I started my channel now. You can see it here now. It's taken a long time. It took it longer. I'll tell you honestly, guys, I thought that it was coming within 2 years when I started my channel, but that was like 7 years ago. It's like it's taken a lot longer to get here, but it is getting here. And there's spin-offs from it, things like wars and everything. It says the consequences will be fatal for the world. Uh, I'm going to do a show on this on my other channel that you guys can link to. I'll tell you what, it's called the Delta Report. It's easy to find my other channel. All you got to do is just go in a search engine on YouTube and put in the Delta Report, or Delta Report, and you'll see my mug there, picture of me, and just click in, and you've got my other channel. And I'm going to do a show on this afternoon, but I haven't got time to do it on here right now. So anyway, it's basically an unraveling of the entire system and its financial turmoil. And that's what we're in. That's what we're coming into right now is the financial turmoil, and the bond market's exploding right now. This is part of the turmoil, but this is a big one. When you compare the size of the bond market to the stock market, even, it's far bigger than the stock market. And when you compare it to the size of things like cryptocurrencies or silver market, compared to the size of the silver market, it would be like, let's see, what could I use as an example? Okay, picture the silver market in your mind, the size of a pea. A little green pea. Okay? And the bond market's the size of a watermelon. That's the difference uh, between those two markets. Silver is a lot smaller than the crypto market. Even such a tiny little market. They're practically out of silver. I'm going to tell you, silver's probably the biggest investment, best places. Real physical silver's the best, even with the premiums compared to what we're going into. The turmoil we're going into, you gotta have some. For this turmoil that's coming, you got to prepare in a multitude of ways. You need an emergency kit with band-aids and stuff in it. Uh, you need to put food and water away for yourself. Bottled water's great. Put some bottled water away for yourself. Some food and everything. You need to have gold and silver, and need to have a little bit of cryptocurrencies. These are things you need. You need to have flashlights, batteries. You need to have candles. You need to have. There's a lot of things you need, and even if you've got all these things, and even if you've got your mindset in a good way, you still might run into problems. Now, what about these people out there who haven't prepared at all? Well, do you remember that ice storm in Texas we had, not this year, but last year? And all those people were unprepared, and what happened is they lived their normal lives in their house, and all of a sudden they got this power went out. Punk, power's gone. So they can't run heat or anything else, and they get this terrible ice storm. It gets colder than they've ever seen in Texas. Unbelievable how cold it got. And their houses got cold inside. I mean, very quickly. And it was like, too cold in here, even in blankets. It's just too cold inside my house. And electricity's out. What have I got for heat? This is how you can get caught off guard by these kind of situations that can come out of nowhere. And if you're not prepared, if you haven't made any preparations at all, well, in the world that's coming, uh, you might not be able to even get emergency services when the world really starts to shut down, because emergency services will be overtaxed because everybody's in the same problem that you're having. And so basically you end up on your own. And if you haven't made any preparations, it could cost you your life. That's the kind of world we're going into. You need these preps. Everybody needs to become a prepper. It's not out of fashion to be a prepper anymore. Now that people are starting to see the world starting to crumble around you, now is the time for everyone to become a prepper. And so if you haven't made any preps up to this point, you've just been watching my channel and you're saying, oh, Glenn keeps going on year after year about this stuff, you know? Well, the shit's starting to hit the fan. Bit by bit. And it's getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse all the time. And if you can't see it coming, then you must be blind at this point. Because we're all starting to feel the effects of these things. Even if you're in an isolated community and everything seems normal, and I know a lot of people there's these isolated communities of people out there right now that aren't really feeling any of this. They're kind of like glossing over them. Sit up and take notice. Start to see what's happening in the world. And I mean, even these isolated communities, they've had to go through this virus, and that must have shook them up a little bit and made them realize, hey, things aren't just going along like they've always went along. Ancient Pompeii was a city, and they had a giant volcano called Vesuvius, and it used to rumble a little bit and spew a little bit of whatever, and stuff. They didn't pay attention to the warnings, and the thing actually just blew up, and it just went through their city, and it just turned them to stone. Quite literally turned them to stone. They are unearthing these poor people who just got caught by this volcano, and they're still on, and quite literally it just... Anyway, moving on. Let's get in here and take a look now at the silver price today, which is down 7 cents, 25.43. Yeah, I know. They've been manipulating this thing for years. And it's just, just when you say they're going to do it forever and I'm never going to buy silver because they're going to keep suppressing the price forever, or I'm going to sell my silver or whatever, just when you do that, just when you plunk your silver on the table and you sell it all, boom, it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen before. Talk about a moonshot. It always works out that way, guys. Just when you're totally disgusted and you think it's going to go on forever, and you finally give in and cave, boom, there she goes. So don't get discouraged, guys, because we're rapidly approaching the end of this manipulation. We're almost done, So hang in there a little bit longer, because you're going to reap the rewards. Because this really is a precious metal, and I'm expecting it to go to 4-1 to gold. at a certain point because it's going to overshoot. See, it was over 100 to 1 gold to silver ratio. It means 100 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. That just shows the craziness of the system that we got right now. But where it should be is somewhere around 9 to 1. That's where it should be. When this thing starts to fold in on itself, I'm expecting it to overshoot that a little bit for a very short period of time and go all the way down to 4 to 1. That won't last. That's just as bad as 100 to 1. You know, and then it'll shoot back. It'll start to go back more to a normal. It's probably going to settle in future years, maybe 50 years from now or something. Probably going to settle in around 10 to 1, something like that. You know, ultimately. But that's where it should have been all along. It should have been somewhere around. That's what it's been through history. But that would, you know what? If it was 10 to 1 right now, silver price would be over $200 or around $200. Shows you what a value you're getting. So just ignore the premiums as best you can because you're going to be glad in the end that you have some. The premiums won't mean so much once this thing finally breaks free of the manipulation that's been under it for almost 1,000 years because they've been keeping this going so long it's almost unbelievable using these paper short contracts. Anyway, moving on, let's take a look at cryptos today. 2029. That means it's crested the $2 trillion mark. And Bitcoin price of 44,989, starting to creep back up again. For all week, I've been telling you guys the door's closing on your chance to get cheap Bitcoins. You know, 44.9. Let's take a look now at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's up 166 points at 34,874 today. And now we're going to take a look at crude oil, 110. It's down $2.34. What was it? I was reading there. What caused that today? The crude oil price to drop a little bit. Anyway, it's down a little bit today. I doubt that'll translate to the pumps. Not a big enough drop. Okay, so let's take a look at the MOVE index today. 113.14. And what we're seeing is the MOVE index starting to creep back up again. I noticed when it went up to 140, they knocked it back down somehow. They did something within the financial system, probably repo operations or something. And now it's creeping back up again because it wants to go up. Let's take a look now at bonds and rates. Now, this is the big story of the day, guys. The big story of the day. Look at these. 14 basis points on the 10-year. That's a big jump. 14.7 basis points to 2.48. The system can't withstand this. Really. You know, the system can't withstand these yields jumping too high, too fast. And there's inversions all over the place. Looks like the 3-year and 5-years almost got an inversion. We're looking at the 7-year and 5-year at almost exactly the same rate. And the 10-year is actually lower than the 7 and 5-year and the 3-year. See, this is signals of mass, and there's an inversion between the U.S. There's inversions all over the place now within these long bonds. This is indicative of massive problems within the financial system, and it's showing up right now in the bonds. This is where I say the trigger for the financial crisis is coming for years now. Me and a whole bunch of other guys have been saying that you're going to see it first in the bond market. Watch the bond market. We've been saying that for years. Well, we're seeing. I think this could be the trigger, right here, and you're seeing it first in the bond market. And these are astronomically large moves up. The bond yields are going up. Astronomically large jumps, like we're talking 15 basis points like in one day. It's like ridiculous. Uh, Look at this, 17.9 basis points on the US 5-year. That's a one-day move of 17.9 basis points. That's a lot. Anyway, dollar index today, 98.62, and it's going along sideways. This war seems to be speeding everything up a little bit, you know. 98.62 on the dollar index, going along sideways. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. And, when my lighting's not just quite right, my camera turns my face red. you know. So today it's a little bit red. Oh, big deal. No big deal. It's no big deal anyway. It's still, the information's the same. We'll catch you guys in the next show. Have a nice day, and bye-bye for now.